Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we go over an article I just created. I spent the last, 40 hours on this. Now it wasn't like 40 complete hours, just I woke up, I started working on it, I kept working on it. The only time I stopped was for streaming, to film a video, eat, sleep, and kept working until this was done. The reason for this article is essentially whenever I mention premium or I play premium on stream or anything like that, someone's gonna ask like, oh, I want to try premium but I don't have a list, or I want to try premium but I don't know which cards to buy. Oh, I want to try but. And it's always a but. And buts are great except for in this instance. So I figured I'd make a guide, a really simple guide where anyone, no matter what clan they play from V or whatever, can just go to the page, scroll to their clan and go, oh, okay, these are the first 4 cards or so I should buy, and I can start playing premium. Not necessarily at the highest level, not necessarily, whoa, this is the best deck ever, but you have a solid start. The best cards usually bang for your buck, but some are more expensive than others, basically to get going. We'll run through how this works. A link will be in the description. You can also always go to zerodamagegaming.com and you have a little menu and it says premium. You click on it and you get this article. I hope to expand this with more articles later, but I feel this is a really good way to get started. So first of all, we have 3 categories. Category 1 is the strides. Category 2 is the G Guardians, and then category 3, basically the cards that go into main deck. Most clans are perfectly fine going standard plus, just a V standard deck and adding a G zone on top of that, but others do get way better with certain main deck cards, and so I mentioned those as well. There's also going to be some nice to haves, but we'll get to that. Now in this first section, I essentially explain every single clan got premium collection crits. In 2019, we got the ones that go to soul and draw you a card. And in 2020, we got ones that can be discarded for striding. And so no matter which clan you play, those are some you want to pick up. They're very cheap because they were just not rare at all. Every single pack had 2 of these. And essentially, why would you not play effect triggers instead of non-effect triggers when they have the same shield and power and so forth, right? So this is the first thing you want to pick up. There are some decks that choose not to play them because of vanilla reasons, but most of them, you'll do great with them and they'll cost you like 20 cents or something. They also bling, so you have some more foil. It's a really easy way to just get started in premium. Next, let's go to the Grand Blue section. So as you can see right here, there's a few things. So first we have our clan logo, and we have overview Grand Blue. So you will have that for every single clan, as you can see. It's sorted by nation, which is a bit easier to find. So then you have an explanation of how the clan works. Usually this explanation will be the same-ish as in standard, but sometimes it's not. So I would still argue you need to read this because maybe there's some point that's very important. For example, it tends to be able to run lower ratios per card, many one-offs, because it can search for and reuse them. This is true in standard, but it's even more true in premium because of Obadiah. So, do read this intro so you know what's up even in premium compared to maybe standard. Now, under that, we have check out an example deck list. Every single clan here will have an example deck list. Every single time there's a premium discussion, someone goes, do you have a list? Well, yes, now you have a list. No matter which clan you want to play, you now have a list. You don't have every single list because, yes, in premium, many clans have many lists, but you have something to get started with. So if you click on that, you go straight into the Bushi Nav website. So this is an official Bushiroad thing. It is in Japanese, but it is what it is. You can basically hover over the cards and get a list. A lot of these cards you probably recognize anyway, so that way you have a list. However, what I would argue is way easier to get started with is what's under here. While the list is fine, sometimes they may be a bit too complex if you're just getting started. So I would focus on these cards first. Under that example deck list, you have some pros and you have some cons. So for example, on Grand Blue, a pro is a large hand size. Grand Blue pluses a lot, doesn't need to use the hand to actually make a field, and so yeah, big hand size. Controlled games in the sense that because they draw so much, because their win con is later on in the game, you have a lot of control. You are basically trying to survive, and survival is pretty easy with Grand Blue. And then toolbox deck in the sense that you have access to basically all the cards at once. Now, your cons can lose by decking out. Yes, if the game goes on too long, you simply deck out with Grand Blue before your opponent. Complex to pilot, well, that is also true. You run so many one-offs, there's so many situations and so many ways to get out of those situations, but if you don't know how to yet, it might be pretty hard. So now in other clans, it may say easy to pilot in the con, so it's not really a con. I guess I should have done that better, but oh well. Basically, your middle little thing right here will always say how easy or hard the deck is to play. This way you can also check out like, should I try this deck? I'm maybe really new to premium, and then you check out, oh, this is a complex one. Maybe I should try to go for an easier one. Or maybe you're up for the challenge. Maybe you're like, a hard deck, let's fucking go, right? Finally, for example, resource intensive. That's because this deck eats so much counterblast. It's absolutely insane. You do have cards to mitigate it, but you know, sometimes you still gotta know what you're doing to get these resources under control. So that's kind of how it works. You have your pros and your cons. So then we have our category 1. This means you will usually have 2 strides. Some decks have 1. And those are basically the 2 strides you want to buy first. The first one is usually your best one. Is going to be the stride you go into the most. And then the second one is like, ooh, niche, interesting situation. So in terms of, for example, Grand Blue again, you're going to go for that stride that will basically set up your drop zone, revive everything. It's the stride you go into. And the second one is still good, but it's more niche. In this paragraph, at the end, I will also always say how many copies of the card you need. So, you know, you see the stride, you see it's $5. You think, well, do I need to buy 4? Well, no. Here it says needs at least 2 copies of this card. The third is optional. Now you know. Once again, for the second one, you tend to want to run 1 to 2 copies of this card in your G-Zone. So if you're still working on a budget, you buy 1. If you can splurge, you buy 2. So in the second category, right here, we go over 2 good G-Guardians. Now, in an optimal deck, you will usually want to run more than 2 different G-Guardians. Absolutely. But again, this is not trying to tell you to play premium with only 4 cards. Absolutely not. But it is the best way to get you started, you know. I believe that in 80% of your games, you will get away with winning with just these cards. Now, little caveat for Grand Blue here, we'll get into that later, but you will do fine, you know, playing tier 2 premium or whatever you want to call it, with just these cards. And of course, you can always expand if you then enjoy it. So once again, here in Negro mode, okay, you'll want 1 to 2 copies of this card. Nora, at the end, you'll want 1 to 2 copies of this card. Now, category 3 for Grand Blue, right? There is one card you truly want, and that is Nightstorm. It is a one-off. I also mentioned that right here. You only need 1 copy of this card. But that is basically the most crucial main deck card this clan has access to. Now, category 4, nice to haves. Here, there's a pretty important one. Megiddo is quite strong in Grand Blue. But Grand Blue is one of the very few clans that actually really likes to have its Zerov Dragon. Regardless, you know, putting that into your 2 strides feels a bit shit. Because it's like, oh, here's your $5 stride and also buy this $80 stride. It's like, nah, you'll probably do fine regardless with just these 2. But I will put it in the 4th category. Megiddo, if you're going for optimal Grand Blue, is something you will want. Now, for 90% of the clans in here, you don't need your Zerov Dragon at all. We also mentioned Undying Depart Grenache. However, I also mentioned that certain people are cutting it because of reasons. So that's the nice to have section. Now, I don't have this for every single clan because I don't think it's relevant for every single clan. So then we go, for example, into Aqua Force because it's a little bit different than the Grand Blue one. Once again, overview Aqua Force, your clan logo, a little intro. So like I said here, thanks to a variety of premium exclusive cards, it can build large hand sizes unlike its standard or V counterpart. That's something important that you maybe wouldn't know if you're playing standard Aqua Force. Now, standard Aqua does draw well, but not as well as premium Aqua Force. So it's still useful to read his intro. Then we have our example deck list, some pros, some cons, except for, you know, medium, easy to pilot well. You know, that's not really a con. Once again, we have our 2 strides right here, and then we have our 2 G-Guards right here. And in the 3rd category, there's nothing, because this clan, quite honestly, doesn't really need anything from G. Really is mostly a standard main deck, and, you know, some strides and G-Guardians. So as you can see, sometimes you'll have a 3rd category or a nice to have, and sometimes you don't. You know, in the case of Aqua Force, Megiddo just doesn't do much for the clan. And so if you're new to premium, putting that in your deck, how much will it improve your win rate? 1%? You know, for that 1% of games where it wins you the game? I don't know. That's not worth mentioning, I feel, when you're introducing someone to a clan for the very first time, you know. So that's basically how I want you to think about this article. If you are a V player or just a new premium player, you can read this. You read this, you think, okay, this sounds like something for me. You go to TCG player, link in the description, by the way, or any store that you enjoy. You notice, okay, how much are the cards? Oh, this is $5. So this is $5. This is $1, and this is $1. Cool. So I'm gonna be spending, I don't know, $25 to get into premium. Hey, and you know, oh, Nightstorm, sorry. $25.20. My bad. But this way you know. This way you know what to buy, how to get into it, real easy. Now, someone on Twitter actually mentioned this is also a really handy way to learn about other clans. And I was like, oh wait, that's true as well. So let's say you are into premium. You already know some of the clans, but you haven't really done, you know, very deep playtesting. And you're like, oh man, at locals, there's always this Gear Chronicle player, and I don't know how to beat him. Well, you can scroll down. You notice, hey, there's Gear Chronicle here, and you can learn a little bit about the clan. You know, maybe you see its weaknesses, maybe you see what their strides actually do, and that way you can actually prepare for clans. So, you know, if you want to up your premium game, a really good way is just knowing the basics of every deck already if you haven't done that before. So that's also an option. Maybe just read the entire article and learn about clans that way. Check out the example deck lists to see what some people are running these days. All of these deck lists, by the way, were donated by Yellow Card Vanguard. He has a great YouTube channel on Vanguard and streams it as well. And so these are quite up to date, you know. I believe that you can go to one of these lists. For example, let's go to Oracle Think Tank. Check out an example deck list. I believe I can grab this deck and probably do well. Not necessarily become world champion, of course, that's not the goal, but do well. You know, this whole list makes sense to me. This is a solid list. Yep. Yeah, I would be totally fine playing this list. But that doesn't mean you have to copy it, of course. Again, this runs a few more G pieces than maybe just the recommended section. In my opinion, if you right now have a Susanoo deck, for example, you add these cards, you'll probably do fine in premium. So that is all. Hope you found this interesting. Again, article will be linked in the description, and if you ever need to find it again, zerodamagegaming.com. You will have your menu, it says premium right here. Click and you have the article again. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and also on Thursday, I'll actually be doing Deck Doctor, which essentially means people will be able to send in their V deck lists or premium deck lists. I'll have a look and I'll see how I would change them. So if you want input on your deck, that's basically the way. What you essentially do is you go into my Discord and there's a Deck Doctor channel. You pop your list right in there, and then on Twitch Thursday at, I want to say 22 Brussels time or so, that's when I'll be streaming, but I'll re-announce it as well. We will be doing a live Deck Doctor. That's gonna be fun. I will see you soon. Ciao.